toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are on show number 319 this week, and we are very excited because we have two special guests in the studio, and we're going to be talking about something that is I really don't know a whole lot about. So I'm excited to have you guys explain what it is, and I also am excited because you brought a lot of beer.
Lots of beer.
Lots
I love
of
that.
different beers, which excites us. So please welcome Abby Hime
Hello.
and Jill Root.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good. Jill is with St. Arnold, and I just want to go on record now as saying we never need to have Lenny Ambrose back on the show again. Jill can just come in. She brought way more beer than Lenny brought. And
Did he even bring barrel-aged beers? 'Cause
I don't-
I did that, too.
I don't think he
Oh.
didn't bring barrel aged, did he?
I don't think so.
All right, we're requesting you each time from St. Arnold. St.
Sorry,
Arnold-
Lenny.
Yeah, sorry, Lenny. You just kind of, were bumped out. It's the way it works sometimes. So, Abby, welcome to the show. You're here in a couple of different capacities. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, so talk about brewery capacity first, and then let's talk Pink Boots.
Sure. I work for Great Heights Brewery over off of Wakefield. I'm part of their sales team, and I'm also in the front of the house for the brew
So
house.
Great Heights is in the Houston Heights. St. Arnold, of course, also in Houston. That's where we hail from, even though the show is heard all over the world. And we are going to be a little bit Houston-centric today, but largely because of something that Abby is involved in that is the other reason that you're on the show, and that's Pink Boots, which I know it has to do with promoting women in the craft beer industry, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes. So tell us what Pink Boots is really all about.
Yeah, Jill and I are both members of the Pink Boots Society, and our mission in Pink Boots is to aim to assist and inspire and encourage women and non-binary individuals in the fermented and alcoholic beverage industry to advance their careers through education.
So it's not just beer, but it's all basically the whole fermented beverage industry.
Including
So-
wine and spirits. It did used to be just beer-centric, and just within the last couple of years, we've expanded and opened it up to all fermentables.
Now, there's been a lot of talk across the last couple of years, particularly in the craft beer industry, about the need for it to be more inclusive to women, more inclusive to minorities. And at least I've seen what feels like there's been some really good strides in this area. Would you agree with that? Or do we still have so far to go that it's not really a countable step yet?
I definitely think we have some more work to do. There's always more work to do, but I think we have made a lot of strides, especially in the last 5 years, that craft beer has really gained a huge boom. Our chapter in itself is 6 years old, and we've grown to 78 members, almost 80 members.
Wow.
So, yeah, we're one of the top 10 largest chapters actually internationally.
And then part of what you do, if I do understand this part, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you get involved in collaborations with different breweries doing different beers to spotlight what the movement is about. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. So through Yakima Chief, throughout the year, Pink Boots, we will get a hop, 14 different hops, and we'll do a hop rub as a chapter, and then we pick out our favorite 7 hops, and we send that back to Pink Boots Nationals. And they take all that data and then do a final hop rub at GABC or GABF, where they pick out the last 3 to 4 hops that they want in the blend, and then the breweries will purchase that hop blend, and proceeds from that purchase will go back to Pink Boots and also back to our chapter directly to help with scholarship opportunities.
For those who don't know what a hop rub is, can you explain what that is?
Yeah,
Sounds like something I want to do, but
it's fun. So we'll get little hop pellets, and then we open up the packages, and we just start putting them into our hands and then breaking them up and letting all of the smells come through, the aromas, and then we just start picking out the notes that we like best from them, or what like maybe if somebody has an idea of what beer that they would like to do, if they're smelling those characteristics of what style of beer is going to go really nice with these blend of hops. So yeah, it's really great because all the different breweries can get really creative with the hops.
So when a brewery chooses to work with the hops that you've selected, or the mixture of hops that you've selected, does that then become a sort of does what they use that for become a tribute, a specific Pink Boots release? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay,
Now,
cool.
are breweries taking those hops and creating a mash bill from ground up for that beer, or some of them just taking and altering existing beers that happen, or is it a little bit of both?
In our case with St. Arnold, just because we are the brewery of our size, like we're basically taking that blend and adding it as a dry hop to a pre-existing beer. This year we're kind of trying out we have a brand new Imperial Hazy IPA called Banger. So we're trying this like a banger song.
You had me at Imperial Hazy.
Yeah, it's 8.4%. But it's deceptively smooth. And
By the
delicious.
way, just so you know, we declared after Dry January, which I don't know, like who originated that, but I don't like
I had
it.
never even heard of this.
After Dry January, we instituted Imperial February, and we are still kind of carrying that through into March. Just so you know, we've tried to have an Imperial in our beer lineup every week. So
That's a good goal to have.
Yeah,
but
that's what we like.
yeah, the blend this year was super like citrusy and like just smelled amazing, and we thought the Banger IPA, or we're also trying our Harmony, which is
I love Harmony.
yeah, it's just kind of it's a lighter style IPA. It's only
but
6.5.
it's nice and hazy. It's wonderful.
And it has Citra Mosaic normally, but yeah, we thought that base beer would also be great for this blend for a dry hop.
You know what's interesting about St. Arnold is that, because it's been around longer than most craft breweries, at least in this area, you guys did not start out as you had a solid IPA in your original offerings, but it wasn't until Art Car that you became a little more IPA focused. But then, right around that same time, all these other breweries started doing crazy amounts of IPAs. St. Arnold didn't fall into that. Like, you guys stayed sort of tried and true. You had Art Car, but you stayed on target with all these other styles and stuff. And now I see you kind of edging into like a few. I love your hazy, your juicy IPA, which I think is just, it's one of the better. It's one of my favorite IPAs right now. And then the Harmony is great, and now you've got this Bangers coming out. So it's kind of like, after the IPA craze sort of died down is when you guys said, here, try this one. And I just thought that was really cool because you weren't doing it because it was the trend.
You also did the double Art Car recently.
Yes.
Too,
Yeah, that's still around. We have it in cans in grocery, and yeah, that is that's a very strong double IPA. It's delicious.
Perfect for
and we're still
Imperial
making Alyssa too.
You are still making it. Now, I
Yeah.
don't see it as often. You
It's-
obviously have it at the brewery, right?
On tap at the brewery, you go down the Alyssa ship in Galveston, you'll see it there on tap. But it's mostly packaged, and it's in, we've got it in 6-pack bottles. We started canning again because we brought back our IPA variety pack in grocery stores, and yeah.
Okay, I have to do this. This is purely selfish motivation, but I have to take the opportunity because you're here to grovel for the return of Sailing Santa. Sailing Santa was a combination of Alyssa and the Christmas ale.
Correct.
And I had, when you guys stopped making it at a certain point, and every year I try again to combine them on my own without success.
It's not
It
the
does
same.
not work. Will you ever bring that back? Or will you
Possibly.
at least ask them to do it?
I hear a lot of what people want brought back. I mean, Santo comes up a lot, Weed Whacker, Endeavor.
Boiler
we're
Room.
Yeah, we're
Boiler
trying to.
Room.
Yeah, rest in peace. But we're hoping to have a pilot system at our brewery soon,
Oh, cool.
where we can do smaller batches and
Right,
have
of-
tap room release specials.
Tap room only release. I will be,
Yeah.
if you do Sailing Santa, I will be there. I will be there, I promise. So Pink Boots sounds really interesting. Now, I want to ask more about it as the program goes on, and we're going to be trying some Pink Boots beers. In fact, if you want to go ahead, maybe pass that over to Ian. You can let him pour. He is happy to do the lifting. But Ian, while she's doing that, I, of course, have to take this opportunity to ask if you have smoked anything interesting lately. And I know you have to kind of look at your notes.
So now
for
I
that
have to do
and
two
pour
things
at the
once.
same time. So maybe pass it to me. I'll pour.
I
While you
didn't
tell
know
me.
this job was so complicated.
Yeah, you have to be ambidextrous, which means something
All right,
I'm
I will
not
wax
really sure what that is.
poetic about cigars. while
You do that. Tell me what you had an opportunity to smoke this week, and was it interesting? Well, I pour, by the way. This is a Lily Belgian Saison. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
From Great Heights Brewing.
Yeah.
And this is a Pink Boots.
It's a Pink Boots collaboration. It's a dry hopped.
I can't wait.
Saison,
I'm very
Belgian
excited.
Saison.
So today I went by Casa de Monte Cristo. I actually thought about you when I grabbed this particular cigar. I thought, I don't know if he's had this yet. I grabbed the Ferio Tega Timeless.
I have not. I'm very excited to have it because I liked Timeless before I went on my Nate Sherman boycott. And now that it's owned by someone else, I'm excited to try it again.
I did my normal mental inventory. I walked through and see what's new, and they have a whole section. They moved a few things. They have a whole section of Ferio Tega now, and I was like, I don't recognize that label. So then I saw the Timeless, and I went ahead and picked one up, and this was the Torpedo 6x52. This is a Nicaraguan Puro. The appearance on this cigar, espresso brown wrapper, somewhat veiny, box pressed, medium firmness with some soft spots. Black and gold Timeless Supreme band. So it has the classic Timeless band.
Which looks kind of like a watch face.
Right.
Yeah.
And then underneath it said Supreme. And then it has secondary band that said made for Ferio Tega. I'm not sure where this. I should have looked up where it was constructed, but I didn't look that up. Anyway, it felt very nice. The pre-light sniff on this, I got earthy and chocolate notes. I got sweet coffee and slightly barnyard notes going on. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. It had a light draw, sweet creamy coffee, rich earth, cocoa, and some fruit going on in there. The fruit I was not expecting from the nose earlier on it. The initial light, I got a Nicaraguan pepper waft.
Pepper waft.
Yes, not a blast.
We're getting creative with our NPB.
It wasn't exactly a Nicaraguan
offshoots.
pepper blast. It was a waft of pepper. It was really nice, actually. It wasn't overpowering. Nutty and spicy citrus and coffee notes going on the initial light. The first third of this, sweet, creamy coffee and cocoa, followed by spicy pepper and citrus. Underlying nuttiness is the foundation on which all the other flavors kind of rest on. The retro hail was peppery and woody. Solid ash, good burn. The second third of this, nutty and woody notes provide a backdrop for spicy pepper and cayenne, citrus, sweet. It autocorrected to cirrus. I don't know why. Citrus?
Cirrus.
Anyway, citrus, sweet cocoa, and coffee are constant throughout. Hints of toast appear here, and the cigar went out.
Oh.
It was probably due to a conversation that started up about Neil Young.
That can put a cigar out. I'm just telling you right now.
So I got involved. Anyway, no relight penalty when I relit it. The retro hail is peppery and woody, solid ash, good burn. The last third of this, citrus and wood notes move forward and add interest to the spicy pepper and mocha kind of flavors. Underlying nuttiness and toast keep everything kind of grounded. The retro hail is peppery, nutty, and citrus. Solid ash, good burn. This cigar costs $12.50.
See, that's more than it was back in the day.
Pricey. Yeah, it's pricey. But Timeless Supreme is a solid 5, 100%.
Oh, very nice.
Solid 5.
Very, very nice. Well, I had an interesting cigar this week, a different kind of one for me that I will absolutely talk to you about today. It is the Partagas Anejo Esplendido LE. And it is a very interesting looking cigar, kind of a small torpedo that tapers out. And you'll see the picture here, but tapers out. It's wider about a half an inch from the foot, and then it tapers back down, and it's a little more narrow towards the foot. So it almost looks like a small bell or something. And it's a barber pole. So
Okay.
it's a very interesting and different cigar. Short and fat, barber pole wrapper. Queen's Fat Bottom Girls kept playing in my mind as I was getting ready to light it. The Anejo Esplendido LE is 4.5 inches long by 60 ring gauge at its fattest point, but it's heavily curved at about the half point and then narrows back quickly, as I said, at the foot. Partagas used a Cameroon wrapper from the 1998 crop and a Connecticut shade wrapper from 2013 together in the barber pole. So a lot of times when you see the barber pole wrapper, they'll use like a really dark and a really light to create like the contrast of the barber pole. This one, not so much. They were not that different from each other, just enough for you to see that it has a barber pole style to the wrapper. Anyway, underneath those leaves is binder from the Dominican Republic and fillers from Mexico and the DR. I used cigar scissors to clip the cap and checked out the pre-light aromas, earth and tea leaf on the sniff, and a touch of pepper added to those in the cold draw. I decided to use a torch, and the cigar lit easily, and we were off to the races. The first thing I got from the Anejo Esplendido LE was a definitive earth note, although when I continued to puff on it, the earth note reminded me a little of like an herb garden, you know, that combination of the earth and a little bit of the sort of sharp notes of the different herbs and stuff. Very rich and lush. There was also a minerality to the smoke and a hint of pepper, especially on the retrohale. Clearly, the Cameroon wrapper was having a pretty big impact on the flavor because it wasn't mild at all. In fact, it came in at about medium plus from the very beginning. Not surprisingly for a Partagas, the construction was quite good. In fact, even when I pulled the band off, it even nicked a little bit of the outside wrapper, and I thought, uh-oh, but it burned right through it with no significant problem. The construction, as I said, really good. It burned nice and evenly despite the unusual shape. With a cigar this small, it doesn't take long to get into the second third. More earthiness, rolled oats, and a continuing touch of pepper. The smoke was thick and creamy, very pleasant on the palate. The pepper ramped up a little bit in the final third, and it was joined by a note of leather. Just like the first two thirds, the final one was nicely complex, with flavors kind of coming and going and keeping things quite interesting as it smoked. Now, while the complexity was nice, it didn't give me a huge boutique cigar vibe. More of kind of a mainstream mix of flavors than the Nicaraguans, than Hondurans that I normally smoke. But it was very enjoyable. And it smoked for longer, actually, than I would have thought. Construction was great. Ash held on for quite a while, despite the more complicated shape. I was very impressed with that. At $6 to $7, the Partagas Anejo Esplendido LE, it's small, but it holds up quite nicely for the price range. And I enjoyed the flavor profile. It was a bit of a change from my usual smoke, so I will recommend it. Give it a solid 5 price to quality. So there we go. All right, we're going to take... go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, for those of you unaware of the rating system that we use, it's a scale of 1 to 10, but it's price to quality. So if you spend 5... or if you give it a 5, you get exactly what you pay for.
Right.
If you rate it lower, you're not getting as much as you pay for, or vice versa.
Absolutely. All right, so we have to take a break. We're going to taste this beer when we come back, and I also will tell you, we got a lot coming up on the show today, including drinking news. We'll tell you about all of that coming up, but we take a break right now. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 319, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Those are all good things.
I love those things.
Welcome back, and welcome again to our special guest, Jill Root from St. Arnold, and Abby Hime, who is with Pink Boots and also with Great Heights. And we are thrilled to have you here representing two of my absolute favorite of our hometown breweries, which is absolutely cool. And then Pink Boots, I'm excited to find out more about it. Before we get to this first beer, which I know I've made us wait a torturously long amount of time before we've gotten to
I've been doing research
to tasting it. I do want to mention a couple of the things we have coming up on the show. In addition to all the wonderful beers that these ladies have brought, we'll also be tasting some rum today, some Dos Maderas Solera Seleccion triple-aged rum.
That's
We've
easy for you to
had Dos Maderas before, what was one of their older aged rums, and it was wonderful. This one is now a mix of rums that have been aged even longer. So I always get excited actually about mixed rums where they're blended, because generally speaking, when they're blended rums, they're blending for flavor,
right?
And that has a tendency to get us to some of those flavor notes in rum that I enjoy the most. So very excited about trying this one. We also will be talking about drinking trends for 2023, which I thought would be interested in discussing with our friends from the breweries here. And Mexico has banned smoking in public. and no one is paying any attention. So we'll let you know about that. Maybe some craft beer predictions for 2023. And, of course, the return of our most popular segment on the program, a little thing we like to call Drinking News, where we bring you stories that are sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but they're always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And today's Drinking News teaser headline for you: a gator for a pet. And we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Right now, I want to get to this Saison. Tell me again, this is called Lily, right?
Yeah.
And you guys did this with...
We did this with the Pink Boots Hop Blend. So it's
Okay.
going to be with Laurel, Yukonot, and HBC 586, which
That's
is going to
easy
be
for you to say.
I was going to call that one out.
Yeah, okay. So Laurel, Yukonot, and the HBC 586.
586.
So those are the hops that are blended in this. And, of course, the Belgian style, the Saison style, is... it's really different. I mean, you're I think maybe more of a fan of Saisons than I am, but
I am.
But I do enjoy the funk.
I find this interesting. I had to look again at the label on here, which is handwritten Lily Belgian Saison, because I get a little of the Belgian funkiness on the nose, but then also there's a floral thing and a citrus
Yes.
thing happening on top of both of those. Like
Yes.
it's like a layer of those things.
And you
on
get
top.
that floral up front, which makes it very different from most Saisons that I've tried.
Right.
Because most of them have more it's kind of straight to that yeasty funkiness, you know?
And a
Yeah.
lot of Belgians are very fruity, but this one's fruity in a more citrusy kind
Mm-hmm.
of way. So it's interesting because I get a little bit of lime zest
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of grapefruit thing happening, and then there's underlying right before you take that right before you swallow, right at the back of the palate. There's just that little hint of that Saison funk that
Mm-hmm.
that I actually really love, but it's almost not there. It's just enough to say, okay, I'm
here.
I'm sort
Am
of
I
here.
getting a
Just in
little?
the back.
Yeah.
Am I getting a little mango in there too?
Yeah, I get a little bit
Yeah.
of that.
It's interesting. It's really interesting on the nose too.
It is, I think, a more. When I say more drinkable, I mean like normally with this style of beer, I have a tendency to sip slowly, enjoy the funk. This I can kind of power down a little more. It's a little more sessionable. It seems like.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And this was done.
crushable.
This was which brewery again? This was Great Heights.
This is Great Heights. Yeah.
Great Heights. So you guys obviously are involved on two levels there for you, right?
Yeah. I actually got to be. I had a hand in brewing the beer as well. So a part of the collaboration brew days, a lot of the breweries will open it up to the Pink Boots members and invite them into their brew house, and so they actually get a VIP like backstage pass of being in the brew house,
Being
and
there when they're doing the work,
being
right?
there, yep, and seeing it as it goes. And for this beer, this is the beer that I've had my hands on the most. Was there for the graining in and milling out and measuring the salts out and weighing the hops and then putting them into the whirlpool. And then about 10 days later, we dry hopped it. So that's why you're getting a lot of stuff, a lot of characteristics off the nose. And I love how the hop blend does kind of just like cut a little bit on those Belgian notes. So they are a little more balanced. And I think that just makes it a little bit more crushable. I love the Saison because you can attract like the most beer nerds. But you can also like really pitch it to people who are not really so much into beer and they're trying to find their place in beer. Because I also think that it has a little bit of a nice dry finish and a little bit of a white wine finish a little
Yes.
I
bit
was
to
going to say
it.
almost a champagne kind of
Yeah.
finish
That
to
white
it.
wine grapiness to it. Yes,
There's
for
a
sure.
nice effervescent
And a little sweet up
effervescence.
front too.
Yeah. And so it's been doing really well in our tap room for us just to capture people who are coming in there and they're like, oh, I'm not really into beer. And so we'll try them on the Belgian Saison, and it tends to go over pretty well.
Yeah, it's got a lot of flavor, but nothing about it is overwhelming. It all blends together very nicely and becomes very, very sessionable.
Well,
I
and,
like it.
and traditional saisons can range from incredibly fruity to a bit of saddle blanket.
There's so
Yes,
many
saddle
interpretations.
blanket is a good
Yeah.
way to say
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Like, that's not a joke. That's a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we often say when we're trying those, we do love the funk.
Yeah, I love the funk.
Gotta have the funk. All right, so let's try what we're tasting next. And while we do that, I want you to tell me a little bit about. You've explained that what Pink Boots is about in terms of what it supports. What do you do specifically to drive? Is it driving awareness? Is it driving opportunity for women in craft brewing? What are the exact things that you support and do that advance that cause?
So our main focus is education, and through the Pink Boots Society, as a member, you are able to apply for quarterly scholarships. A couple of other member benefits would be online community. So you are able to reach out to people who are working in the exact same field as you, or even bigger if you have questions that are beyond you. Local and regional chapters. So there's several within Pink Boots. There are 75 plus chapters, so that you can easily connect with women and individuals who are like they're in your area, and develop personal relationships with them, and are based and shared around interests and challenges. We have a national conference every other year, so that's really fun, where everybody comes together. And that is a very educational weekend. There's seminars. There's usually the one that I attended. There was 2 tracks, a front of the house track and a back of the house track. So that's really fun. And then collaboration brew days, like we've been mentioning, are another way. That's actually how we raise money for our chapters and for Pink Boots scholarships.
You mentioned scholarships. Is this something for like? Is this not only a support system for? If you're already in the industry, but for people who are thinking about getting into the industry and don't know how to get their foot in the door, don't know where to even start, kind of thing.
That is actually a really great thing that you bring up, because we added, just about a year or 2 ago, we added aspiring membership. So if you're somebody who's looking to get into the fermentable business, but you're not really sure where to start, and you're not actually working for a company quite yet, you can choose that membership, and you're more than welcome to you have benefits of being a regular member as well.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for some more beer. What's next?
I'm for it.
Should we try the banger?
Sure, let's try the
All right,
banger.
let's bang away.
Normally I think you guys put it back in your cooler, didn't you? Okay, so somebody will have to jump
I see
down
it
and
right there.
jump down and grab it. While we're doing that,
closer,
I feel
Abby.
like it's interesting because if you look at the world of cuisine, the chef world, there have been throughout history and certainly more and more today, plenty of amazing female chefs. I mean, I don't know about you, but I loved the whole series, the whole Julia series on was on HBO or whichever. I believe it was on HBO. That was about Julia Child, and showing how she made such a mark on people's education about great food and what by coming into people's homes and just being. Here she was this woman and she had this accent and she was just so charming, and somehow that worked better for people to watch and pay attention.
She was relatable.
And she was relatable, and she just plus she was really, really great.
She made it show how easy it is to cook from home with just basic,
and
simple ingredients.
I can see a place like that for someone to emerge as the Julia Child of craft beer. For somebody to step up and be the sort of person who puts it all on the map in terms of women's accomplishments and achievements in the craft beer world. So it's an interesting thing to me, because I think women are inherently, I'll probably get some pushback on this, but I think women are inherently more creative than men are. I think they just have. I think there's just some gene in there somewhere. Men might be better at other things, but when it comes to creativity, I think women are just, I don't know, they're just wired that way. And so I would think that more women in the brewmaster positions at craft breweries would mean more creativity in terms of what's happening. Am I barking up the wrong tree there, or is there something to that?
I agree 100%. Yeah.
And I'm happy not to be the creative one. I'm happy to be the one who gets to drink it. So that's just kind of the side that I come down on.
Standing on this side of the bar.
Absolutely. I'll stand there and be supportive. And when I say be supportive, I'll order that beer that you made and talk about it. This is the new. It's relatively new, right? This
banger IPA came out in January.
Okay.
It is gonna be a year-round beer for us. We're starting to debut 19.2 ounce cans at your local convenience stores and grocery stores.
I was about to get all excited. I thought you were going to say you're about to debut a 19.2 ABV banger.
Oh, no.
I'm in.
No.
Wow.
I'll put it next to my 120 minute.
But grab one 19.2 and you're good to go.
So-
You're good for the whole.
Yeah, you're good
absolutely.
for the whole day.
What I think is great about this beer is that for as big as it is, it's extremely drinkable. Like a lot of times when you get a big IPA, and I've had plenty of those because I love IPAs, sometimes you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to go slow on this one, because it's so big. This one, I think you can just keep drinking.
It's interesting. There's almost a sugary sweetness that happens after you swallow. That's really, really, I think, out of character for anything you would call an IPA, because usually you get more bitter.
Right.
But it's really interesting. It has that what you like to call the Doritos effect that makes you just want to take another sip.
And I would go even further. I think it's
Hops on repeat is our slogan.
Hops on
It keeps
repeat.
you coming back for more.
I
so,
like it. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of though?
The St. Arnold. The St. Arnold logo is. If you're not from around here, the St. Arnold logo is very, very distinctive.
Yes.
And there's a little
The patron
record,
saint of brewers.
There's a little record player right there.
That's great because it's a banger, right?
DJ St. Arnold.
Yeah, we're doing
And it
DJ
looks
nights
like,
around town
just
with
judging
it.
from the size of the record player and the size of everything, it looks like a 78.
You know what?
Yeah.
On the
Maybe
finish
I'm
on
geeky.
this, it's been years since I had one of these, decades since I had one of these. But do you remember eating when you would eat, like they come in a little package, those powdered donuts with the white powder on them?
Yep.
There's a taste that once you've actually chewed and swallowed the powdered donut,
Which would
there's
take a while because those things are dry.
Exactly, but there's a taste that it would leave in your mouth. This sort of white powder sweetness.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe the finish on this. It's kind of
It's
almost
in a
like
very good way. By
Yeah.
the
Oh,
way.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Even though those are maybe perhaps not the best of snacks, that
we're trying to be
aftertaste
relatable.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
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 It is a
Could put a
good
whole
thing.
bag of
Yeah.
those down.
Yeah.
I get a
I'm
lot of
digging that.
tropical fruit, melon, citrus. I mean, we're dry hopping with Strata and Simcoe hops. So
Yeah.
it's,
I love Strata.
This is wonderful stuff. And again, it was after the IPA craze had kind of come and gone that you guys released this killer double IPA. Is it considered a double? Is it considered an imperial?
we
Does
say
it
imperial,
Yeah,
imperial hazy.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, you can't deny the fact that as you know, what beer drinkers are drinking, IPAs are still just
Killing
the
it.
top style in Texas,
Absolutely.
and hazies
Absolutely.
make up like a huge portion of that.
How did you guys get to know each other?
Through Pink Boots.
Okay, so you're both members of Pink
Yeah.
Boot Society.
Yep.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
We're both reps.
And how much, how broad across the United States is Pink Boots? How is
it's
it everywhere?
international.
So
Yes.
it's international.
Yeah.
Really?
We have chapters in Australia, overseas, Europe, yep.
So we had, you mentioned Australia, we had an article last week that I was so excited to get into because it was the 100 hottest beers of 2023. And I had just glanced at it. I'm like, I don't recognize like any of these. This will be great to talk about. So I bring it on and discovered that it was the top 100 craft beers in Australia in 2023, which explained why I hadn't heard of any of them. But
Spoiler alert: Foster's wasn't on it.
yeah,
Australian for beer.
I don't think that's a spoiler at all.
The oil can.
That's right.
They don't drink Fosters over there.
No,
I-
they don't.
I've been over there and I really didn't see it over there. It was weird.
Yeah, it's one of those, they've managed to
Perception
convince
versus
Americans
reality.
that it's Australia's favorite beer, but it's not. It's not at all. So let's do another one. What's next?
Let's try another Pink Boots beer from Walking Stick.
Walking
Sounds awesome.
Stick.
Walking
Yeah.
Stick is right across the street from you
Yeah,
guys.
they're
isn't
our
it?
neighbors.
Yeah, that's a nice little area. What's the name of the street that?
Wakefield.
Wakefield. Yeah, so
Wakefield, yeah.
right by the old petrol station where it used to be. You guys are like right down the road from there, and it's interesting because there's Walking Stick and.
There's us. There's
And
William
you
Price
guys, great
Distilling.
heights.
Yeah,
and then
there's
William
there's
Price is
Avanac
right there.
Distilling.
Yep, and Decant Winery. So it's a street that here in Houston, or I think it's the only street here in Houston, you can find 2 breweries, 2 distilleries, and a winery, and you got your good old crowbar smacked right darn in the middle.
Love it. Love it. Well, what's interesting about Houston, it is a great place to live if you're into craft beer. You know, I'm very fond of Austin, but Austin all too often is just automatically crowned the king of what's cool when it comes to the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's getting less so day after day now.
I think that's probably true, but when the whole craft beer thing started to explode, everybody thought, well, Austin's going to be where it really is happening for Texas. And I'll tell you, I think Houston now has
I think we're keeping up.
more craft breweries, obviously, because it's a bigger city. But I also think even just if you look at it with excitement about paper towel. I'm going to have to run and grab one.
Don't worry about it.
Keep
Keep talking. I'll worry. I'm just getting this on my pants. So
I totally understand, and you know that's okay because I did it when I was pouring the other one. So, but what I was saying about Houston is that we seem to have really jumped in with both feet and have so many very creative breweries, and all what I love about the breweries here is all of them kind of are finding their niche, like what their sort of specialty is. You know, you have St. Arnold, which is like the what was the award that St. Arnold won? Best midsize brewery.
Yeah, in 2017.
In 2017,
at
like
the GABF. Best midsize
that's like
brewery
a big deal. And St. Arnold is to me, it's like the OG of craft breweries in
the oldest
in the whole state.
Texas craft brewery.
And
turned 30 next year.
It's just like so you're basically the Dr. Dre of beer is the way I look at it, right? Yeah, I mean it's just still super relevant, still totally in the mix of it, and everybody looking up to you and saying, wow, that's how to do it. All right, so we're going to taste this. This is a Goza, right? Is that what this is? So,
guava with Goza. A Goza guava.
Goza guava.
Yeah.
We'll taste it when we come
A
back.
Goza with guava.
The music tells me we got to take a break. It's Smoking and Toasting. We will be right back.
so funky.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on show number 319, talking about drinking trends for 2023, and of course talking about Pink Boots and the organization that is promoting and supporting women in the craft brewing industry, which we are all about. We are all about. Drinking trends for 2023. I want to run a few of these past you here. It's from an article in liquor.com, which is one of the best liquor and alcohol websites.
It's a fun
online.
website if you've
It's
never
very
been.
and great recipes if you're looking for cocktail recipes. So they talk about the big trends for 2023. They list 5. Number 5 is tapping into the complexity of zero-proof spirits. So they're saying that the alcohol-free spirit world is becoming more diverse, more complex. There's more to enjoy there. It's not just here's a alcohol-free beer or an alcohol-free whiskey or whatever.
My wife went out for brunch with some of her friends last weekend and actually had one of those zero alcohol. She had an espresso martini.
Yeah.
Said it was pretty good.
So the next trend is also related to that. It's non-alcoholic bottle shops and sober bars, which now I understand the concept of offering alcohol-free drinks and beverages at a regular bar, but would you want to go to a sober bar like that doesn't sell any alcohol?
I don't they usually call that a coffee shop?
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
No, I'm not making fun of totally making. I mean, that is funny, but I mean, I'm not totally making fun of them. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think that's what people who don't drink. But maybe this is just so that you don't have to just drink coffee.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, and you can drink some of these non-alcoholic spirits if you're wanting the taste and the flavor profiles of the non-alcoholic spirits. So, I don't know. I wonder if this. I realize that people are more interested in this than they used to be, but I wonder if this as a trend isn't being overstated a little bit because people are looking for things to write about. What do you guys think about
Do you
that?
ever get people coming into the brewery asking for a non-alcoholic
Yes.
beer?
Yeah.
It does happen,
We've
really.
actually had
Is
to
this
bring on
often?
we've brought on athletics,
Right.
and also Untitled Art has one, and so like we've brought them in for that option. I mean, definitely during January we actually really can't even keep it on our shelves, to be honest
Wow.
with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was amazed. Me and my wife were in Specs. This was months ago, and we saw that they had a Guinness Zero. And we bought a 4-pack of Guinness Zero and a 4-pack of the standard Guinness Draft cans.
And did you AB them?
and AB'd them, and I was like, a little blown away at how there was very little difference. Like, if you
Interesting.
just put it down in front of me, I probably wouldn't be able to tell.
Well, the next time we do, and we're going to do it this year for sure, another light beer blind taste test here on the program, we're going to insert some non-alcoholic beers into the blind test and see if we can figure out which
We
ones
could
they
do a
are.
whole like non-alcoholic blind taste test as long as we're doing shots in between.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The third trend is what Liquor.com calls the Drink Masters influence. Have you guys, any of you watched Drink Masters on Netflix?
No.
I have not
Not
watched
at
it, but
all.
apparently, if that shows any indication, they say these very sensory experience cocktails with foam and things like that are back. They also have brought back the word mixologist, which the
That's
author
been
Good.
floating around for a
Good.
while.
yeah, which the author doesn't think much of, but anyway, but that's the thing. These sensory experience cocktails is becoming a thing again. And the next trend, bringing on the American single malts. We know that's becoming a trend. We're seeing more and more of that. And then number one, they say, are micheladas the new Bloody Marys?
Yes.
And to which I answer, please God, no. If there is any divine
love them.
being, please tell me that it's not. Are
made
you
a
a
little
fan of
heart.
I
michelada?
love them. I will go all over Houston finding my favorite michelada.
Okay.
I mean, you can get
It's
one
all
in a
about the
can
mix.
Yeah.
made by what Bud Light or whatever it is,
Yeah.
with Clamato.
A house mix.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And you can do different beers with them. Like
I
try a
just-
goza and
Yes.
a michelada.
I just can't do clamato. It sounds like something you try to avoid.
You
I
don't
mean,
have
I
to.
can't.
You
I
don't
can't.
have to.
Like
I
a
can't
social-
dump a beer
like a
upside
social
down
disease.
into a margarita either. So I don't know.
Anyway, that's just me. By the way, this, I'm sorry we haven't talked about this.
Those
we were talking
look
about
good.
This is really delicious.
Got-
This is the Pink Boots.
Goza from Walking Stick, and
Mm-hmm.
it is a Goza's is a German style beer made with coriander and sea salt, and they fruited theirs with guava. It's juicy, but you get all of those notes that you want from a Goza. A little bit of salt,
It's
a
like
little
a
bit of
wonderful
a little bit of
punch.
spice. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a
Should
party
add
punch.
some rum to it. I feel like
Oh.
that
Yeah.
could work.
I-
It's a fruit punch.
We happen to
Salty,
have
sweet.
some,
Oh.
and we will be
If we had a little
sampling
nutmeg,
it.
we'd be on it. huh?
We will be sampling it in the very next segment, the Smoking and Toast, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Show number 319 with Jill Root from St. Arnold and Abby Hime with Pink Boots and also with Great Heights. And now, Abby, I have to confess that my wife has known your parents forever. So I feel like even though you and I have known each other that long, we still have some history here. But I was thrilled to find out how involved that you have gotten into the craft brewing scene. And I'm curious as to what it was that made you, why was this an interest for you? What made you go, that's what I'm going to do? I'm interested in that.
Okay, a little bit background is I started at Good Dog Houston, and Molly and Danny gave me the opportunity to be the beer buyer. I had already had a big affinity for craft beer that I got through definitely through sitting on the front porch, the famous front porch with my dad, and we
Because your dad's a cigar guy, too.
yeah, and a craft beer guy and a whiskey guy, a Scotch guy, and so it started out just really starting out on the front porch and doing side by sides of different beers that we would like, and then I took that knowledge with Good Dog and worked for them for 5 years at their West Alabama location, and that's where I created, had a relationship, started forming relationships with all of the breweries around town, and launched me into Pink Boots, and where I made more connections. And when the time was right, Great Heights had a position that was open, and I thought the timing was right, and I was ready to be full into craft beer, and so I took the opportunity to work for those guys, and it's been great ever since after that.
Now, this is the first time we've actually had on the show in 319 episodes, the first time that we've had representatives from two different local breweries in the studio at the same time. So talk to me a little bit about that. Is there a sisterhood, so to speak, of of breweries in the greater Houston area? And if so, how's that come about? See, I grew up in radio, and we always hated our competition until the same company bought us all and forced us to all get along. But there was always massive competition. You were pulling tricks on each other and stuff, and that doesn't seem to exist in the world of craft brewing, at least not that I've seen.
Really? No. I mean, we're all definitely technically competitors, but
One of
at
my
the
favorite things about the craft
end of the
beer-
day, there's
beer
so much
industry.
camaraderie, and like a lot of those girls are my good friends, and we look out for each other.
Support each other. We listen to each other. We're mentors to each other. That's definitely.
But even beyond that, like conversations I've had where I've been in the same room with two people that work at different breweries. Hey, we're having trouble finding these cans. Oh, hey, we can order some cans. Do you want to just split the order? Like those kind of things are so common.
Right.
With these breweries, it's absolutely wonderful. And I know there's a secret brewery like meeting once a month.
Oh yeah, you got to
where everyone gets together at one brewery
Guild
and
meetings.
hangs out.
I would love to go to one of those. Are you kidding me? Yes, we
Be our
definitely
guest,
need
be our
to.
special guest.
Yes, we'll be quiet. We'll just drink and say
I
nothing.
just went into that Disney moment in my head.
Yeah, I went there
So
too.
did-
So
so did
that's
I.
so wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. Let me tell you what I think is going to be right on a number of levels, and that is today's spirit, which is the Dos Maderas Solera Seleccion triple aged rum. It is a new release, or a relatively new release from Dos Maderas, and we loved the last one, so I had a good feeling about this.
Dos Maderas Selection is a blend from a carefully selected number of our finest cask, Dos Maderas 5 plus 5 PX, and our 10-year-old blend of the finest Barbados and Guiana rums, which have been matured in old bourbon casks.
It's nice.
Sweet.
This is everything I like about rum right here.
It is sweet and round and delicious.
And it's got so much of the vanilla and the maple and even the caramel to it, which I think is just absolutely wonderful. What do you guys think? Are you big rum? Are you big rum fans?
I love Godlelo and Loose Cannon have such an amazing rum selection, and I recently went to the Bahamas and went to Watling's distillery.
Oh, cool!
And brought back a bottle. I loved everything I had there. Yes, rum is very much a presence in my liquor cabinet.
One of the things that's great about rum is that you can get really great quality rums that are not that expensive. Now there are some expensive rums, but you can get some really amazing ones that are in the under $30 range, and it's an amazing thing to be able to do. Ian, are you taking a picture of the rum?
I am. I'm
So
going
you
to post it on this Houston Rum Society thing that I have here.
You must really like it.
Because I don't know. Yeah, I do. Sorry for the pregnant pause there.
Lost you for a moment there. No, I just think this is what it's all about when it comes to rum. This is one of the better ones I think we've had in a long time. Sometimes when we go with the single cask rums, what you get is a rum that behaves on the palate more like a whiskey. It's kind of like a sweeter version of a whiskey. And I'm not saying those aren't good, but they're not my favorite. My favorite is when it's got all these intricate flavors kind of swirling around on the palate. To me, that's what rum's supposed to be about.
This one's so interesting. Like the lingering cinnamoniness that I get is so
Which
nice.
is a word, by the way. You can look it up, cinnamoniness.
Hey, man,
It's in the
if
dictionary.
Shakespeare can make up words, I can too.
That's right. Well, I think this is absolutely wonderful, and it'll be interesting to see
I love
because
how oily it is too. It just like completely coats the mouth as soon as you take a sip.
we're moving now towards the darker beers, towards the barley wines, towards
dark
what I see
side.
is a barrel-aged barley wine. That's a barrel-aged barley wine, and then that is the French press. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this interacts, because I suspect this will interact beautifully.
well, yeah.
Rum is a very friendly spirit about interacting with other
We
beers
actually
and stuff.
did last year. We did a Jamaican Legend where we took our bourbon legend and aged it in rum barrels.
in rum barrels.
We
and
did that
bet
with
it-
Pumpkinator. We aged the
Oh,
Pumpkinator
yeah, I
in
love
rum
Pumpkinator.
barrels.
I love pumpkin.
Yeah.
So where should we start? French press?
Sure.
Do you have a bottle opener over
do
there, my
not.
friend?
I have one on my keychain.
I have one in my bag, but if you have one on your keychain that's closer, we'll use that. So, and I also appreciate. I'll say this, and Ian will immediately, countermand me, but I appreciate that you guys still do some beers in bottles because I love bottled beer.
The
It's
bottles,
just colder.
yeah,
just colder.
There are those traditionalists that love the bottle.
Yeah.
and-
Come on, can you're just gonna pour it
You
into a
know.
glass anyway. Who
Yeah,
cares?
I know. Still, the bottle
Especially
kept
the
it colder.
darker ones. Drinking
Yeah.
those on a cool winter day where we briefly have those, out of the bottle's great.
So this French press, we've had this on the show before, but this is of all beers that I've tried that are coffee or espresso, this is the most coffee espresso of anyone that I've ever tried. It's just a real authentic coffee taste. It's quite the interesting thing.
Yeah, and they use different origins from Java Pura and the different and barrel-aged ones. Every year they do like a tasting selection.
So that's interesting.
And the base beer, French press, we just won a Texas Craft Brewers Guild medal gold.
No kidding. I did not
Yeah.
realize that. That's congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's great. And this beer has only been out a couple of years, right?
Last year, I
Definitely
think,
a few.
wasn't
Yeah, I mean it's we've had
22?
several years of it.
I remember it was, when
Yeah.
I was at Doug's, it was 2020, I think.
And is this a
Oh, has
year?
it been that
Is this a
long?
year round?
It's a limited release that
Okay.
comes out around like November time.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So our
There's
bourbon
usually
barrel
different
French
versions.
press is an imperial coffee porter. After aging in bourbon barrels for almost a year, we added coffee from our local friends at Java Pura, along with Madagascar vanilla for an extra layer of sweet and inviting flavor that's rich and roasted.
That's what I
beer.
love about it. It's the vanilla.
It's perfect for camping trip, for a camping trip in the great outdoors or a weekend brunch in the comfort of your own home.
So, Ian, take a sip of the French press, and then go back to the rum.
Oh wait, I'm still at the French press.
I'm going to do the same.
And back to rum.
I'm going to be curious about what you
So good.
about how that impacts the rum.
Oh, it makes it taste like maple syrup.
It
Yeah.
does absolutely.
Holy cow.
It's like time for pancakes, maple
Yeah.
syrup.
Which is funny because we also did a bourbon legend in a maple barrel as well. And we called it, did we call it Canadian Legend? Maybe not.
When you guys do these special things like Bourbon Legend, how much of it do you make in comparison to, are they smaller batches because you anticipate them being more limited and maybe even the interest in them not being as broad, but the people who do love it are going to be crazy about it?
We definitely do a smaller limited run of our bourbon legend, and it also takes like a year in the barrel. So
A year in the barrels. Wow. That's a long time
Yeah.
for beer.
So
You know?
you guys are
Yeah.
one of the few breweries that have a barley wine as well.
yes, and
I know because last time when we went and hung out there 6 months ago or so, I think that's all I drank.
Yeah, I
And I
believe
was
it
like,
was.
I'm starting with the barley wine. The bartender was like, "Oh, starting off light," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going lighter after this. Go give me another barley wine."
14.2.
Wow. Well, I got to tell you, the French press is as good as ever. And if you ever think about drinking it alongside a rum, this is a wonderful pairing.
I am such a fan of St. Arnold's. All your seasonals are just absolute favorites of mine. I'm always waiting for the next seasonal. So I love
So-
Springbok.
Summer Pills is out.
Yeah.
Summer Pills
Summer
is
Pills is
great,
great.
and then I can't wait
Yeah.
for Oktoberfest.
I
and then
actually prefer the summer
Christmas
pills
ale.
to the H-Town pills. I like summer pills better.
Summer Pills is one of my favorite pilsners out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a hot debate.
Now, I will ask you this St. Arnold question though. What will take the place of Divine Reserve? Because Divine Reserve was a thing for so long, and I understand it was time to change up. I get that, and so you don't do the Divine Reserve anymore. But is there something coming that will kind of be the new thing where Divine Reserve used to be?
I get that a lot. People ask about that one and Bishop's Barrel, and I just like to say that we haven't stopped our barrel aging program, and we've got a lot of special stuff going on there. It's just lately, the problem with putting a number on it was that the general consumer might have tried one, didn't like number 5, not realizing that every iteration
Everyone's going to be
Very
different.
was
Sure,
a
sure.
different beer.
But there was a time, and it was the first time I experienced this in the world of beer, where a Divine Reserve release meant lines around my favorite specs at 10 in the morning the day that Divine
I
Reserve
was one of those
released.
people.
So,
Definitely.
yeah, it was a big deal,
Yeah.
to be sure you got your hands on that. So I'm just, in my mind, I know Brock must be coming up with something that will be the next thing,
I think, if we have a recipe, something we're super excited about and want to do that. I tell people all the time, it's not dead totally completely.
Right.
We got in our back pocket, but
You know what you could do is just do another Divine Reserve. Like, because it's gone away, people would be so excited about the next Divine
There's
Reserve
an instant sale.
that
And make it a barley wine, because I like barley wine.
you'd get a line again. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be a thing, because it's become something you don't get regularly. I don't
Absence
know.
makes the heart go fonder.
That's right.
there are still some bars around town though that have like lingering bishop's barrels just hanging out, like Cottonwood. Like they've got that.
Well,
on
they
their
won't
menu.
after tonight.
So if you know Joel from Eureka Heights, he came on the show with a bunch of old bottles that he had, even back to a DR number 1.
Wow.
How'd it taste?
Surprisingly held up.
Yeah.
There were a few that not so much, but that
Yeah.
one actually surprisingly held up.
Where are we going next? Are we going Bourbon Legend, or are we going with the okay?
You wanna go barley
Ian,
wine?
let's go Bourbon Legend. Ian
love
is such a
barley
fan of
wine.
barley wines, and
You don't understand. I will drink this floating down the river. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like,
he's
fine.
such a fan of barley wines. But it's not. We can't do. There's not enough barley wines out there to do one every week, so we
We should have a show
It's a
that's a
special
barley
occasion.
wine blind taste test.
I'm down. But
You'll
have
start
to supply the
not
barley
being
wines.
able to see it, and you'll end up not being able to see it all.
Well, we're particularly proud of this one. This one in 2019 won us a bronze at the GABF in Denver. Our first year to
GABF.
submit it.
For anybody that doesn't know, GABF, that's like the Oscars for beer.
It says
Yes.
Kidney IOU on there. I love the artwork, by the way. Do you have a story behind that?
Yeah. So, the artwork is our co-founder's Sean's wife, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
She does all of our canned art. When you come into Great Heights, you'll find murals on the walls, and she's fantastic.
Wow, that's so cool. But yeah, GABF, the Great American Beer Festival, this truly is the Oscars for craft beer. In fact, it's so much like the Oscars for craft beer that the big moment last year at the GABF was when the head brewer from Stone Brewery in California walked up on stage and slapped Jim Cook from Boston Beer. It was a thing like reverberated through the whole beer community. I'm not being
sounds like
serious,
that
of
sounds
course.
like something else.
Yeah, it sounds like a drinking news story, doesn't it?
Besides, that guy looks so friendly.
Jim
Like,
Cook?
Yeah, how
Oh,
could
yeah.
you just walk up and slap
Nobody
him?
would slap him. Not even the Stone
I mean,
guys.
he's not a
Yeah.
golden-throated pitch guy.
No. but he's always fun. He's always fun. All right, so this barley wine, this is from Great Heights, and this is called
Smells so
Bourbon
good.
Legend,
Bourbon
14.2%.
14.2. So we're getting into your wheelhouse here, Ian.
Yes, I love this.
Is it
already.
say
I haven't even
3
tried
on
it
there,
yet. I love it.
So you
14.3?
guys should know that when Ian first started bringing barley wines on the show, he brought one that had like chewy chunks in it, and that was where I had to draw the line.
There's nothing. Just bring a toothpick, man. Drink your barley wine. Bring a toothpick. What?
This, however, is really. I'm
That was
interested to
in
see
my
your-
defense. That was a beer I think was recommended from the D&Q Mart.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
I
place.
did too.
It must
That
have been
guy-
recommended by
That
the
guy would
D&Q.
always hold me bottles. when
Must
I
have been
couldn't get
recommended
out of
so
the office.
awesome.
Must have been
Brandon, he's
recommended by
awesome.
him back in 1968 when they first opened. That's what I'm thinking. That was
guy's
just an
so
old
awesome,
beer.
man.
That was just an old beer.
Is it-
By the way, this is delicious. Have you had this yet?
Yes. Well, this is the one that you had on tap, and this is the one that remember when we hung out. I kept drinking this one.
Oh, man, that's right. Yeah.
I think
You
they
can
were
still find cans in the tap room right now for sale.
I think they were concerned for me after I went up there for my third or fourth one.
So this is a limited release then.
Yes.
And barley wines are almost always going to be limited, aren't they? Because it's just not something I see you producing year round. But kudos to you for doing this, because it is really a style that is not as common. And when you find people that love it, they absolutely,
I absolutely love this.
Love it. Yeah, it's delicious.
And if you drop this between two pieces of wood and they stay there for a short period of time, you will never get those two pieces of wood apart. It is. I absolutely love barley wine. And I say that as a joke, but it's kind of true.
All
I
right.
absolutely love barley wine. Though.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to actually take a break here and come back in a few minutes, because we got to leave room for our segment with drinking news, and we still have a number of beers to cover.
Including another barley wine.
But before we do that, I just want to ask you, Ian, if you've got any of the rum left, go back to it now after
I do.
the barley wine, because this This is something you should experience.
Oh, now it's very minerally.
Yes, and minerally and cinnamon.
Yep.
And cinnamon.
Wow.
All right, we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Oh wait, the cinnamon happens like right after you swallow. Wow, look at that.
Yes, we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. I just love that guitar.
I love
absolutely
barley
love
wine.
it.
Yes, I
And
do.
you love barley wine.
I love barley wine. How about you?
I do love barley wine. Even though you're the barley wine guy,
I'm
on
apparently
this
a
show.
barley wine cheerleader now.
You are, and you do it very well. Although I can do without seeing you in the cheerleader outfit. That we can leave out, and you can just cheerlead from where you are.
You take all the fun out of everything.
I love how you cheerlead with the ukulele. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian has the ukulele ready to go because it is time for the single most popular segment on this program. It's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I need to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
All right. Well,
Well done.
Yes, very well done. Today's drinking news story does not actually involve drinking, but if you are listening, I certainly hope that you are drinking. If not, I will give you a moment to pour yourself
I
something.
got you, boss.
Before we continue. All right. And yes. All right. Here at Drinking News, we brought you plenty of stories of Florida men and Florida women and their adventures with alligators. Somebody's phone is playing a tune or something. I don't know whose it is.
It's not me.
Maybe it's something on the board. Chung, will you check that? Okay. All right, seems to have gone away. So we brought you plenty of stories of Florida men and Florida women and their adventures with alligators. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Drinking News theme song even tells the story
It features the
of
alligator.
the Florida man with the missing arm who had a gator for a pet. And, of course, he reportedly explained with the simple statement,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
right. So, but Florida, for all of its craziness, does not have a monopoly on gator stories. In fact, this week it was a woman from Texas, our home state, who made gator news when authorities seized her pet gator, which she'd been raising in her backyard. It's the story of a gator named Tua, which woman in Caldwell County in Central Texas says she got some 20 years ago when it was tiny, and she claims she got it from the zoo.
She's got a 20-year-old out. She's had it for 20
Yeah,
years.
she's had it for 20 years. Now, I wasn't aware that zoos allowed people to take baby gators home, but either she's fudging the story a little bit or things are somewhat different in Caldwell County. Texas Park and Wildlife officials did not release the woman's name, but they did seize the now 8-foot-long amphibian and reportedly returned it to the zoo.
I imagine after like the first year, she's like, I think it's going to get big. Look at the size of them paws.
Authorities said, and I love this, they're not sure whether the large reptile came when it was called, but Texas Warden Joanne Garza Mayberry told NPR that the gator was compliant with the woman as she had raised it since a hatchling. So I'm imagining this give and take between the woman and the gator.
It's compliant with the
It's
woman.
compliant, yeah. It was Garza Mayberry who first spotted the unlikely pet last month. Videos from the scene show the gator was living in a fenced-in area with an artificial pond, the type of water feature that you often find in a landscaped garden. Garza Mayberry said, I observed the alligator when I visited the house unannounced during an unrelated law enforcement hunting investigation. That tells you something
Excuse
there,
me,
too.
ma'am. Is that a gator in your garden?
Are you just happy to see me? Texas Game Wardens, the agency that handles law enforcement for the state's Parks and Wildlife Department, released videos showing the gator being carried to a truck. From there, it was taken to the Animal World and Snake Farm Zoo in New
That
Braunfels
just sounds nasty.
near San Antonio. Now, let me pause and add some context here, all right? I grew up near San Antonio, and I have been to the snake farm in New Braunfels. And let me tell you, it's an example of why we need more regulations of zoos here in the Lone Star State. It's really not a zoo at all. It's scary, it's disgusting, and while every kid in Texas wants to go and see it, once they've been there, they never want to return again.
They're mentally scarred.
It is so infamous as a place to avoid that country legend Ray Wiley Hubbard actually wrote and recorded a song about it.
That's what I was quoting, by the way.
And I will share the lyrics with you here. It goes, Snake Farm. It just sounds nasty. Snake Farm. Well, it pretty much is. Snake Farm. It's a reptile house. Snake Farm. By the way, those are the real lyrics.
That song freaking rocks, by the way. I love that song.
Not for nothing, but the loser in the story is actually the gator.
I actually had a snake.
The gator sounds like he had a pretty good setup.
Yeah, he had a nice life in a woman's backyard, whether he came when she called him or not. I mean, with a fenced-in area and a water feature and some nice plants to lie in under the shade, under in the shade.
An 8-foot gator, how substantial a fence do you think you have to have if an 8-foot gator decides it wants to get out? Like, so obviously this gator was fine.
Now, too, is it
and
Snake
he probably
Farm.
had a contingency plan, too. He's probably like, you know what? If she stops giving me food, I'll eat her. You know?
So now poor Tua is at Snake Farm. And if you're watching a video of the show, here's a picture of the place. And that pretty much says it all.
Oh, man.
So even though, as the Wildlife Agency points out, alligators naturally shy away from humans, and that problems arise when alligators are fed by people because the alligator loses its fear of humans and begins to associate people with food. And you can see where that leads to, right? So you can see the reason why they took the alligator away. But I, personally, I cannot help but feel for Tua. Tua didn't ask for any of this, right? He apparently had a very nice existence, only to be whisked up and locked away at Snake Farm. I guess it goes to show you that even in this enlightened age in which we live, there are some problems for which there really is no good solution.
Man, so I like to think that Tua got in there and the other reptiles are like, so what'd you do? And Tua's like, man.
What are you in for?
What are you in for? I don't know, man. I was just chilling one day.
We need to go rescue him. Take
I
him
was
to the
chilling-
Everglades.
I was chilling under
Free
the
Tua.
hibiscus bush.
I was just hanging out, waiting for my next meal, and these guys grabbed me, stuffed me in a van, and dropped me off here.
Ambushed.
Reporting live from the Copperhead Petting Pool at Snake Farm. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Everybody, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, Al.
It's nice.
We really harmonized
I
there.
like
For
the
a minute.
extra voices.
Yeah, that was good.
Women voices in brewing.
I love
I'm
when he
a
goes,
hoot at karaoke.
I love when Ian goes, everybody! And everybody just joined in. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. See, we should be syndicated this show. This show would have been a great intro to syndication.
I feel like this is one of those moments that we're going to put on with our like best of. Which will follow shortly with the
All right.
Ian Said What show.
Exactly. We're not going to have best ofs. We're going to have Ian Said What's. Yeah, we're off this weekend, so it'll be an Ian Said What. By the way, one of the things that will happen, I'll just mention this when the syndication begins, is that the available launch date of each show will move from Thursdays to Saturdays. So the show will now be available starting
Prime time.
Saturday afternoon. Yep, prime time once we air on the network. Now, Ian, I know I heard you open the bottle of St. Arnold's barley wine. Is this where we're going next?
Oh, I thought that was the order we were doing.
Yeah, that's fine
Did
with
I
me.
mess that up?
No, it's perfect. We just did the barley wine from Great Heights, so now we go barley wine from St. Arnold's.
Right. What barley wine's next?
And is this something? How often do you guys do a barley wine?
Not frequently.
Yeah,
This one
it's a-
was bottled in 2020, so it's had
Okay.
a few
You could
years.
tell that they don't do it very often.
Cellared.
Otherwise, I'd have a tent right outside their parking lot.
Yeah, it's a special occasion for Ian.
I have
with
a
the barley
little.
wines,
I have
at
a little
least.
summer tent by the freeway.
Ian, what was the first barley wine you ever tried?
Horn Dog.
Yeah? And what year was that you would have tried that?
Man, that would have been 2004-ish.
Okay. So,
Maybe 2000. Oh, I like to think it was earlier than that, but I think that's about right. 2000, actually, probably around 2001 or 2002. It was Flying Dog made one called Horn Dog. Mm-hmm. It was available all the time at
Flying Saucer.
At Specs.
Or at Specs, yeah.
And I picked it up one day because I was like, I don't know what a barley wine is, and I just absolutely loved it, and that was my introduction to it. So it would have been early 2000. It would have been like 2001-ish. And I would buy it by the case. And then they stopped making it, and I cried for a long time.
Yeah, it was a very sad time.
I did, because there's not a lot of barley wines to be had. Like,
No,
it's
you're right.
hard to find.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why you were really excited over the Great Heights barley wine.
So
And
then
now
I had to drown my sorrows in Meridsu,
I understand. At least you
which
didn't.
is also a high ABV.
At least you didn't drown them in Malort.
My lord.
You ladies may not know this,
Chicago.
but he has actually malorted me on the show twice.
Twice, 2 times, yes.
Yeah.
All
I snuck
right.
one into a blind whiskey taste test.
It was not pretty.
Oof.
It was not pretty.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, herbaceous is a very PC way of putting it.
All right, so this is very interesting on the nose. Now,
Yeah.
when I tried the Great Heights barley wine, on the nose it immediately said to me barley wine. It just had all of those notes that I would associate with barley
This
wine.
has very high figgy kind of notes.
Yeah,
Yes,
fig
yes,
and raisin,
thank you.
raisin.
Definitely
Thank
get
you,
that
fig and
immediately.
raisin. And of course those are barley wine notes, but for some reason it didn't quite.
Well, there's the bourbony kind of vanilla thing going on that you don't get in a regular barley wine.
It's a touch lighter on the palate.
Ooh, I'm getting lots of bourbon though on the palate for the first sip.
And this one's coming in at 12.4.
Lots of
Yours
bourbon.
is higher.
Mine's just
A paltry
If it's a
12.
contest.
lots of bourbon, some cinnamon zest. You get that?
I do
yeah,
cinnamon
absolutely.
Definitely
zest
some
and
spices.
Actual,
I would like to say though,
I'm going to make it
I
a
do
thing
like
if
a
it's
cinnamon.
not. Yeah.
I was in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, and I had a barley wine that was done with a sake yeast at Legion.
A sake yeast?
A sake yeast, and
How
I
weird.
was like, "You have to please." Well, I was like, "Where did the sake come from?" And she pulled out the notes about the beer, and she's like, "Yeah, it's the yeast that we use," and it was so clean. It blew my
Interesting.
mind. Was like never so curious, creative.
I love that we are doing this show in the period of history that we're doing it, in the time that we're doing it.
Such a
because
great
there is
time to be
so
alive.
much, right? There's so much to sample and taste and enjoy, and it's what all of this is about. When we talk about this on the show a lot, it's like experience these things, like enjoy. This is not about how drunk can we get, although it has happened, but this is about the experience of all this, experiencing the finer, more interesting and complex things in life from a taste standpoint, and that's why this is so. My brain was opened up to all of this for the first time when I was invited to a tequila tasting, and they did it was done by Jose Cuervo, and I'd had Cuervo, and I'd had Cuervo
You're like, he's
Silver.
a friend of mine.
Yeah, right. And so I'm used to all of that and stuff. But when I showed up to this tasting, I got my first taste of Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia.
That's
and
different.
my world view changed. It was like, okay, wait a second. This is about experiencing and tasting these things. And I've been able to bring that same, mindset to craft beer, although there wasn't a lot of beer there to support it back then. Now there is, and it's wonderful.
When I was doing HEB demos pre-COVID, my favorite thing was to paint a picture for somebody on when and how when they're gonna have this beer,
Yeah.
or yeah.
And what it goes with, and what it,
And, I would just-
what mood it
We'll
creates.
peek into their carts and be like, oh, this beer is gonna go really great with that pork shoulder you have in there.
I love that.
So barley wines are an interesting thing because they're generally so high ABV. So you're either going to sip it all evening, or
Right.
you need to share it with somebody.
And that again,
And that's a really fun way to do it. Because
is.
Then you get to try more than one.
right. And the whole sharing thing, and this is what I love about bombers and about the big cans, is that the whole sharing thing, it's a completely different part of the craft beer experience, because you're not just enjoying this on your own. I usually enjoy craft beer late at night when I'm doing the dishes, But that's not the super fun time. The super fun time is when Ian's over and we open something and try together and talk about it. And that's the thing that makes this special to me. Is this barley wine currently available? Can we buy it at the brewery, or is this a remnant from something older and we'll have to wait for the next batch?
I will say that the bottle before us was acquired from a cellar tasting that we did at the brewery, and everyone got to take home one of these bottles. But I can't speak to like what is available right now at the beer garden. We often have cellar releases and specialty stuff available for purchase to go. Yeah. And that stuff's always, I mean, it comes up every now and then, and often we have like I guess you call it a garage sale or something, where it's like
you kind of empty out
hey
the coffers.
guys, we'll put it out in our newsletter, especially on like, you know, like Black Friday, like Thanksgiving time. We'll have like these bottles are up for sale, like you can order ahead of time and come pick it up from the beer garden.
So let me ask you this question. Let's say you're someone like Ian. You're a barley wine fanatic. Barley wines are not necessarily easy to find. How can he know immediately when you guys have released a new one, whether he needs to come to the brewery or whatever he needs to do to find it to pick it up?
Yeah, if I go to my my freeway tent that I have right outside of your brewery.
Just follow our St. Arnold Army newsletter or Instagram. I mean, we're usually posting about when we have those
and how about with
bottles
Great
for
Heights?
sale.
Same
Also,
thing? Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram.
Right. So
St.
that's
Arnold
how you
has a
let
great
people
TikTok,
know.
by the way.
Oh, St. Arnold has a TikTok, really?
Yeah, we
It's
do.
hilarious.
Amanda, our senior brand ambassador, is just like killing it.
Are
with
there
the
any
TikTok.
TikToks of Brock dancing?
Ooh, are there?
Because I would sign up right away.
I should suggest that.
Get on that, Amanda.
I know. We've done a what the Friday kind of stuff.
What the Friday is a
and-
great segment.
Yeah, it's a great
Brock,
segment.
by the way, for those who don't know, he's the founder and the head brewmaster for St. Arnold.
Well,
And
technically, Aaron Inkrot's now our head brewmaster. He gave that title to Aaron.
we have had Aaron on the show
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
He's
Really?
wonderful.
All
Yep,
right.
yep,
He's
yep. He's great. And but Brock has given that title up now, huh?
He did like name Aaron the head brewmaster. I mean,
Okay.
Brock is still very much a present at our brewery. I mean, I see him in the office all the time. He's
Brock
very
is
hands-on.
also a big fan of barley wines. as
Yes,
far
he
as
is, as I recall. Yeah. And by the way, we understand how that works because one day I will give my title up to Ian on this show. So it'll happen.
A predecessor.
Right.
I'm sorry, what title do you have?
I'm not sure what it is, actually. I'm not sure what it is. I just know I get to come on here and drink great beers, and I love that. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back to wrap the show up. Our guests on this program, Jill Root and Abby Hime, they're from different breweries, but they really like each other, and they're all involved in Pink Boots, which is promoting the whole concept of women in craft beer, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Play it like a real tempestuous sensation. You got to get down.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 319, and this has been a really fun one. Abby Hime from Pink Boots and from Great Heights, and Jill Root from St. Arnold and Pink Boots are both on the program. So we found out a lot on the show today about Pink Boots and its promotion of women in craft brewing. And I made a prediction in the break, and I'm going to repeat it here, that the two of you will one day launch your own brewery together. I think you will.
We need investors.
I think you will. I think it'll happen. And when you do, we'll have you back on the show, and I'll go, see, I predicted this.
Yeah.
It could happen.
I'll name a beer after you.
Perfect.
There you have
We're
it.
very excited. I want to try this. Well, Ian, now you're opening the.
Oh, did I open the wrong thing? That's okay. I'll drink it.
Actually, I love what you're opening. 'cause
There's no
you're
wrong
opening
things.
No.
That's right. There's no wrong thing.
No wrong or
so
right
pour
order.
that. But before we go, I wanted to try this hoppy sparkling water that St. Arnold has released called Hop Spring, because I haven't been able to bring
Yes.
myself to actually buy like a six-pack of it yet. And I really wanted to be able to taste this because it sounds like such a unique idea. But every time I go to buy one, I look and not too far from it on the shelf is your juicy IPA, and I go for that instead. But this is something that, I think could be could be a thing. It's alcohol-free, but it's hoppy and it's sparkling water.
Yeah,
and I do like sparkling water, so let's see what we got here.
Smells like an IPA.
Yeah.
It's got like citrus and floral notes. It's very
I've got-
refreshing.
All right,
Just
so-
a few cups left, so
all
I'll
right,
pour
so
this too.
sparkling
yeah,
water.
so pour that too. Let's see where we go. I may have...
I like this because it sounds like a beer when you open
So
it.
Yeah,
we've
it
had
does.
this on tap at the beer garden since we opened the beer garden in 2018. So this was always an option. I just don't know if people always made their way down the menu to see that we had hop water. Hop water's gotten pretty trendy.
Well, now
So-
that NA.
So hop water is basically
very
just
popular.
sparkling water, but is it brewed? Is it correct to say it's brewed with hops?
It's dry hopped with hops.
dry
so
hopped, okay.
Citra and Amarillo is what we're putting in this water. So it's
We can
it's gluten free, it's sugar free, it's 0 calories.
All right, so I'm going to go.
I'm out of cups here, so
All right, this is yeah, and I apologize. I could have brought more, but this is our last segment.
there's a little more. Oh, you know what? There's a little more in the can, so somebody just have the
Yeah.
rest of the can.
So I'm going to say this as a fan of sparkling water. Like, I'm really digging this as a sparkling water. If I don't think of it,
Oh, I'm 100% on board with this. First taste, that's it.
if
This
I
is
don't
good.
if I don't think of it as compared to a beer, right?
We're not
If I
calling
thi-
it a beer
right.
or a
If I think of it as
non-alcoholic beer.
just
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
if I think of it as just compared to a sparkling water, absolutely love it because it's got more flavor.
Yeah, what a nice flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I I have one of those what do you call the soda machine thing? Soda streams at the house.
Right.
And
Where you can make your own sort of
yeah,
carbonated water, right?
Right. And so I have all the bubbly mixes and I love that and I'll mix a few. I wish they would make one of these.
Yeah, imagine if you had like a hop.
Honestly, this is really good. Now, so
Or just
now,
stick a hop in the
is this
jar and put it
widely
in my fridge.
available?
Yeah, we're it's definitely going into your HEBs and your Krogers.
I'll be
Total
picking that up.
Wine
Because I will be
specs,
buying this
yeah.
this will replace the Topo Chico in my refrigerator.
It does great with gin
Those are
as well.
I
You're
know.
dethroning
I know.
Topo Chico?
I'm just saying. It's
Topo Chico as no mas topo?
no mas topo.
So I just pulled out all the
No
Spanish
mas
I know.
cheapo. No mas cheapo.
which, by the way, means no much tipo. Yeah, that's the translation. No, seriously though, this is really tasty. It is got more flavor to it, but it still feels like it qualifies as a water. If that
It's
makes
a-
any
yeah.
sense.
I would
yeah?
try
It
some
is.
gin in this.
Yeah,
Ooh.
gin works phenomenally in it.
Yeah.
You got just like
All the
if you have
botanicals
Maybe
to
maybe a
go
little
with the
vodka
hops.
even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some grapefruit vodka would be
Yeah.
good. in
Yeah.
there?
I guess that-
Absolutely.
That's absolutely good. I do want to mention before we say so long to everybody that Ian also poured a beer that they brought today, which
Yeah.
is one of my absolute favorites. It's one that if
Blue
I am
Tile IPA. This is
if I'm like at a restaurant and they have this on the menu, I actually send back compliments to the to whoever does the beer
Thank
list.
you. This is
So-
our Blue Tile IPA. It's 100%
good.
mosaic hops.
this
You can
is
find it pretty widely available.
this
at
is
the
not
bars
your
and
average
restaurants.
IPA.
No,
this
it's
is, This is different. This IPA is so packed with that one thing,
And
and
it's
it's beautiful.
It's an
Yeah, it
unfiltered
is.
IPA. It's an American style. You're still getting those like strong stone fruit notes, but it finishes dry and clean. What I love about Great Heights beers is a lot of their beers are just very clean and very well balanced, and they pair perfectly with any day that Houston has to give you.
Abby, if people want to find out more about Pink Boots, how do they do that?
You can look at www.pinkbootssociety.org. You can also look for a Pink Boots collaboration beer around town, like Flying Saucer or D&T.
Nice.
There's about 14 different places that picked up a Pink Boots beer this year. So
I saw
on
on this
Instagram, right?
on
yeah,
this
we're on
you have this
Instagram. You can look for our Houston. Type in Pink Boots Houston chapter.
you have this
Boss
great
Lady from Walking Stick. You can find that.
Awesome.
kind of pink boots. Does this
Yeah.
go on all your beers that you
Yeah,
do?
all of our cans get that
cool.
branding.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much for coming on and telling
Thank you
us
for
about
having
this.
us.
Thank you.
Will you
yeah.
please come back on the show
Oh,
in a
we for
while
sure.
and tell us about
Absolutely.
how this is all going, and you can come back and tell us about your next barley wine that you're doing from St. Arnold. Have a great week, my
Thank
friends.
you.
Thank you for being a
Thank
part
you.
of
Cheers,
Smoking and
cheers,
Toasting.
cheers.
Next
Woo.
week's a big week for us, so make sure you join us. Have a wonderful week this week, and cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Blue Tile, baby.
There she goes,